After the Russian Revolution of 1917, the Soviet Union aimed to transform itself from an agricultural nation into a modern industrial power. When Joseph Stalin came to power in the late 1920s, he introduced a series of ambitious economic programs known as the Five-Year Plans. These plans were designed to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union, increase state control over the economy, and make the country self-sufficient. Background. Friends, before Stalin's rule, the Soviet Union was primarily an agrarian society. Most of the population were peasants who lived in villages and practiced traditional farming. The new economic policy, NEP, introduced by Lenin, had allowed some private trade and small-scale farming. But Stalin believed it was too slow and not socialist enough. He wanted to build a powerful industrial base that could compete with Western nations and defend the USSR from possible enemies. The first five-year plan, 1928 to 1932. Friends, the first plan focused on heavy industries such as coal, iron, steel, and machinery. Stalin's goal was to make the USSR an industrial giant. New factories, dams, and power stations were built at a rapid pace. Cities like Magnitogorsk and Stalingrad became centers of industrial growth. However, this rapid development came at a great human cost. Workers faced long hours, poor conditions, and strict discipline. At the same time, Stalin introduced collectivization of agriculture, forcing peasants to give up their land and join collective farms, kolkhozes. This policy led to widespread resistance, famine, and millions of deaths, especially in Ukraine. The second and third five-year plans. Friends, the second plan, 1933 to 1937, aimed to improve transportation, consumer goods, and further industrial output. The Soviet Union became one of the world's leading industrial nations. Although consumer goods remained scarce, heavy industry continued to grow. The third plan, 1938 to 1941, emphasized military production as tensions in Europe increased before World War II. The USSR started producing tanks, aircraft, and weapons in large numbers. This industrial strength later helped the Soviet Union defeat Nazi Germany in the war. Results and impact. Friends, Stalin's five-year plans completely changed the Soviet Union. By the 1940s, the USSR had transformed from a backward agricultural country into a major industrial power. Millions of people moved from villages to cities to work in factories. However, the cost of this progress was immense. Forced labor, harsh punishments, poor living standards, and mass famine caused great suffering. Individual freedom was sacrificed for state goals, and millions lost their lives due to Stalin's brutal methods. Conclusion. Friends, Stalin's 5-year plans were a turning point in Soviet history. They achieved rapid industrialization and strengthened the USSR's position as a world power. Yet, they also revealed the dangers of authoritarian rule and the human cost of economic progress achieved through force. The legacy of these plans remains controversial, both a story of achievement and tragedy.